If you're new to the space, and you're trying to maybe break into marketing, I would say that really, really lean into AI. I bring back that term of experimentation. Build things on your own time, experiment, post those things online, build in public.
Hey, I'm Guy Powell, and welcome to the next episode of the Backstory on Marketing and AI. And of course, if you haven't already done so, please visit prorelevant.com and sign up for all of these episodes and podcasts. As you know, I am no longer the upcoming author of the AI Marketing Machine. The AI Marketing Machine is now available, and there it is. You can buy it now. Go to Amazon. You can read it on Kindle or in paperback, and really excited about getting that out there and getting some feedback. It was a almost a 2 year process to get it done. I'd been doing a bunch of interviews, and all of those interviews, just like this one, all of those interviews were the core data, so to speak, the data that David talks about, and we all talk about, but that was the core data for the book. In any case, I'm interviewing today Dave Albert with Chrometrics, and let me tell you a little bit about him. Dave leads Chrometrics product design, analytics, and R&D teams, developing intellectual property and technology to improve client success and satisfaction. In his 20 plus year career, he successfully launched and divested an email marketing startup and has worked with both startups and Fortune 500 brands to launch large scale marketing and platform initiatives. When not staring intently at a screen, Dave enjoys spending time with his wife and two children, cooking, hiking, playing pickleball, and adding items to his ever expanding bucket list. You are so right, that bucket list. You get one knocked off and you add 10 more to it. So, Dave, welcome. So good to have you.
Marketing's operating system has been replaced. Not upgraded, not improved. Replaced, completely and totally replaced. AI isn't a tool you bolt onto your existing marketing organization. It's a fundamental redesign of how marketing thinks, operates, and creates value. And most CMOs are already behind. The AI Marketing Machine is the field guide for marketing leaders who want to get ahead of that curve. Built on more than a decade of the marketing machine methodology and interviews with over 100 CMOs, this book shows you how to harness generative and analytic AI together, without losing the human edge that makes great marketing unforgettable. This isn't theory, this is the playbook. How to redesign your team, how to build AI into the foundation of how you work, how to prove ROI in the boardroom, and how to lead the intelligent marketing machine that wins in the marketplace. Marketing's future is already here. The question is whether you're building it or watching someone else do it. The AI Marketing Machine, available now.
Thanks, Guy. Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's your backstory on AI and marketing?
Yeah, well, I think to extend upon that great intro, I've been really fascinated with AI ever since it became relevant and relevant to marketing. Obviously, it started a lot, I think, with the content generation piece, and a lot of people really started using it for that. But as we all know, it's just evolved so rapidly over the last few years, and it's just permeating every aspect of not only the way we work every day, but especially marketing, in ways that are fascinating and opportunistic and invigorating, and other ways which we all know are a little bit intimidating and scary.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it is invigorating. I think that's a great word for it. And I don't know if scary is. I could see that for some folks. There's
Sure,
definitely a lot of unknown out there, and but that's kind of the fun of it as well. That's what really I think gets the juices flying and stuff like that.
absolutely.
So what is Chrometrics? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're a growth marketing agency. We've been around for about 15 years. Cut our teeth doing conversion rate optimization. So think A/B testing, multivariate testing, personalization campaigns, that kind of work. Anything where we're trying to optimize the user experience to drive better conversion. whether it's an e-commerce site or a lead generation site or a subscription-based website. That is a lot of the work that we started out doing and we did for many, many years. And then we really expanded our services to become a full service growth marketing agency. So that includes running clients' paid programs, pay-per-click, social, all of those good things, lifecycle marketing, analytics, and now a lot of SEO and AI visibility stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, those are pretty critical for just about any marketing that's being done. And whether you're a small brand or a Fortune 500, all of that stuff is pretty critical. One of the things, though, that comes up quite often is, how do you actually get a marketing tech stack, so to speak? Do you build it? Do you buy it? Do you rent it? What are some of the thoughts and issues that are now really critical for small and even large marketers?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's really changed, especially within the last year, right? Because of the ease of using things like Claude Code to build tools. And so where I find where it's going is a lot of the sort of core infrastructure stuff has changed, right? You're not going to necessarily build your own email marketing system, right? You're not going to necessarily recreate Shopify. Why would you? So, a lot of these sort of core systems, I think, are going to be around, but there's a lot of opportunity to create tools and integrations that sort of surround that ecosystem and can be very specific to your market, how you work, your customers, how you're trying to reach your customers. We find we're doing a lot of that here at Chrometrics, where we're spinning up a lot of tools to help us market better. And just an example of that, like eating our own dog food. I mean, we used HubSpot. We had sort of the full-blown HubSpot, and we realized, wow, this is a lot of tools that we really just don't need. Let's strip it down to the core HubSpot. And then we built some kind of cold outreach and different sort of mining tools and kind of like prospecting and sort of warm lead type nurture tools around that, because we found like there's a certain way we wanted to work with our systems. We have our own kind of internal agency management system we wanted to work with. And, you can just code this stuff up so quickly. So I think we're really going to see more and more marketers turning to building their own tools, building their own, integrations on top of some of this core infrastructure that they're already using for marketing.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. And, because unless you're Microsoft or Google, you're not going to go off and reinvent the wheel with building your own Shopify or something like that. But, nevertheless, some of these nuances, well, I don't know if they're nuances, but some of these procedures and steps that you take and processes that you build are so easy to do nowadays in AI. How do you, though? I mean, they're easy on the one hand, but they're also hard if you mistakes. So how do what are some of the decision criteria if you were going to build something in AI? What are some of the business decision criteria that you need to worry about if you're going to, start to build these things?
Yeah, well, I look at it a lot like vibe coded apps are like sort of the new spreadsheets, right? People would not necessarily put a lot of governance around letting people create their own spreadsheets. And so when you're doing these kind of smaller vibe coded app efforts, we like to just set people up and let them run. And what we find is once they have something in terms of a proof of concept that they like to work with and maybe can be more broadly applicable to other people in the team or company wide, we'll take that and we'll incorporate it into some of the tools that we build. And so that's when it kind of goes to my team and one of my full stack developers, which nowadays they're really like hybrid product manager / full stack developers, which is, I think, a really cool kind of whole separate track we could go down. But they'll take that proof of concept or that app and sort of fold it into the greater thing that we're doing. And I think that ability to allow people to do that and to really kind of democratize the coding aspect of things creates a lot of opportunities for people to be creative and sort of scratch their own itch and solve their own problems. And, we have a program manager on the team who's never coded before. And she got on with our CEO and said, like, I'm really frustrated. I can't get this data I need to manage this program. They have multiple contracts and I'm trying to get them all lined up so I can watch the margins. And he said, you should just build yourself a dashboard. And he walked her through it and she built a dashboard and it was very cool. She got what she wanted. And then we all looked at it and we said, we should make that part of our core software. This is great. And so there was a lot of things about it once we got it that were like hard coded in and, best practices you would never do with coding. But we ended up folding that into our greater agency management tool. And so that was a great example of how you can do that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, but you brought up governance, and governance is definitely a challenge, and certainly in a regulated industry, and whether it's I don't know financial or certainly healthcare, that's where I think the real challenge is when you're going to do something yourself and provide the tools, so to speak, to be able to do it yourself, but then you need to be able to look stand back and have somebody really look at it and say, wait a minute now, did I just put all of our customers or our patient data out on the web?
Yeah. Yeah, depending on I mean, obviously we're a smaller agency. We're more entrepreneurial. We have a little bit more latitude to do stuff like that. But absolutely, great point around governance, especially in sensitive industries. And I think one of the things that we've worked on is we created like a boilerplate to do vibe coding. So you kind of start with a code repository that gives you sort of a starting point to work from. And it has all of the security stuff in it. It has federated login stuff in it. So it has controls around database access and things like that. And so we found that that's actually a pretty cool way to get people started because they have a starting point to build something. And at the same time, we have a lot of the security stuff built into that. So I think that's a great way to start is just kind of get that boilerplate going that your your DevOps or your IT department can bless and make sure that folks can use that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and I like your story about, building an internal dashboard and then it becomes part of the app overall offering. Now, one of the other challenges, and this unfortunately gets back to my way back when I was an engineer and I did software and stuff like that, was change management and being able to not only build the product the first time, but man, I got to change it or something new came up, or we're going to change from HubSpot over to I don't know Microsoft CRM or Dynamics or whatever it is. And so how do you handle that? What are some of the gotchas that folks need to be worried about?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. And I think it's a close cousin of governance. It's really making sure that we're doing things kind of above the waterline, right? And so I think we tend to bias towards go fast and break stuff because we'd rather have a lot of people creating things and trying things out and experimenting. I mean, at our core, we're an experimentation company, so we love to experiment with things, and we just think the pace of innovation and being able to drive growth, especially for our clients, really gets accelerated when you adopt that sort of experimentation mindset. So I do respect that. You can create issues. You can create a lot of tech debt. You can create so many automations that you can't keep track of all the automations you have. You have to have automations that monitor the automations. So I do get that you can kind of sort of code yourself into a corner on some of this stuff. But we found, at least for us, we haven't run into too many issues with that so far. We'd rather let people go really fast. And, some people who are very, procedural and like to really follow structure and things like that, they get a little uncomfortable with that. And I get it. But I think at the end of the day, it's better to sort of over-index on that ability to be creative and experiment.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think you're right, and I like that. What was the term you said? We're an experimentation company. That I really
Yep.
like that because in essence, that's what AI is so good at. It allows you to in your own words, write something. And I was just doing a little automation here this morning on something we're working on, and you write something, and the AI comes back and he goes, "That isn't what I wanted." And then you change it and you get it going, and then finally after a couple of iterations it works. And then maybe you come back to it a month or two later and you go, "Oh, well, now that we did it that way, now we need to experiment in a new little thing because I want to add another bell and a whistle to it." So I really like that. So we are now AI-based experimentation companies.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you can't hurt its feelings, right? You just, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah, well, I
So
don't
so
know
that's
about
great.
that. I am still afraid of Skynet going live, and it's going to remember all of those nasty things that I put in there. So I'm always careful.
Yes, I'm definitely a please and thank you in my prompts.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You don't know.
You never
But
you don't. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, one of the things though that you have a trade-off in quite often is, how do you make something kind of simple and bring the whole organization up versus, doing something, a really cool novel problem that can really provide, I don't know, some value either on the cost side or on the speed side or on the quality side. How do you look at making those trade-offs when you're trying to help your clients to choose an AI rollout strategy?
Yeah. Well, I don't think the basic tenets of product management have changed in that respect, right? I mean, you still have to focus on problems that are worth solving. You still have to define your problem statement. You still have to quantify that problem and make sure that it's worth solving. Sometimes you're automating away something. You're spending all this time to automate something that takes you 5 minutes, right? Or takes somebody else 5 minutes, And so you really have to think about like, yes, you can go really fast with AI. Yes, you can do a lot of things with AI. But I do still think that there's that idea of looking at things in a matrix where you're looking at level of effort versus impact and where does it plot on that chart, and then focusing on solving the highest leverage opportunities that are ultimately the minimal amount of effort. And to go back to what we were talking about earlier, I do think that becomes more evident in marketing when you do have really good data, when you're making sure that the data that you're feeding AI, you're making sure that the guidelines that you're providing AI give you the structure to do that, because then ultimately AI is actually good at also telling you what problems to solve for. It's
Mm,
it's saying this is what I think you need to focus on. This is what you need to prioritize, and this is why I'm telling you to prioritize this. And so it does go back to just that sort of, I guess, ounce of prevention, pound of cure type mentality, right? Where you're doing the work up front, maybe some of the boring work up front to really maximize the type of output that you're getting from AI, and having it guide you along as to what problems you're solving for.
right. No, I know exactly. So, the other thing too is whether because I really like the way the responses come back. You put some queries in, and then it says, well, you need to consider these three things, and then you look at that and you say, well, no, I think I've already got two of those done, but that third one's pretty good. And then you go down this, I don't know if you'd call it a rabbit hole, but certainly it's important. And you get that then nailed down, and then you kind of get this. It increases your overall understanding of the business question that you were trying to solve. And I think that ends up doing two things. That hopefully removes errors, that you don't, as you're trying to implement something, you don't have errors in your logic at least. And then secondly, I think it gives you just a much more solid solution to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, we were talking before about being the experimentation company, but the AI is, and putting a lot of AI into the organization is definitely opening up Pandora's box in some cases. And how do you or what kind of guidelines do you work in to say, okay, well, we do want you to experiment, but on the other hand, we do have to have some control over it. How do you kind of balance those two, I don't know, disparate directions for the organization?
Yeah. So I think when it comes to client engagements, it is still about having prioritized roadmaps, right? And making sure that we're prioritizing the right things. I think where we tend to do that is using a lot of financial and predictive models. So we're very much a growth marketing agency. We're very much performance minded. So say, for example, we're running a conversion rate optimization program coupled with a, paid spend program. We're really looking at, okay, um, what are the highest leverage opportunities when it looks like when we're thinking about projected impact of the type of experiments that we might be running and carrying that thread from maybe their paid program to whatever the landing page experience is and optimizing that landing page experience. And so we've developed some of our own kind of tech around that. We have a product called Impact Lens, which we have thousands and thousands of tests that we've run over the years. We've put those all into a database. We've enriched that with AI, and we trained a machine learning model on it to generate predictive scores based on new test concepts. So, if, for example, you put in a new hypothesis, and it will go and it will look at that database. It will look at a lot of different attributes, things around like industry, where you're targeting the test on the site, what the audiences are, and it will then couple that with projected impact if that test were to win, and looking at it from the standpoint of like how much lift in conversion rate will we get. And then it will give you a score and say, okay, this score is, and it's sort of like we kind of have sort of like a green, yellow, red sort of nomenclature, right? Where it's like, you should definitely test this. You should maybe think about testing this. You should maybe hold off for the following reasons. And so that becomes a good guidepost for us, especially on the Crow side, to help us prioritize the roadmap. Um, and it's not chiseled in stone, right? Like there may be tests that don't score well, but you still want to run those tests for learnings. And so we tell folks, hey, look, you don't have to follow this as law. Like, think about this as really the AI and the machine learning providing a guide for you. And so that's one example of how we try to help our clients prioritize their marketing efforts.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. And so tell me what, just as one good example, do you have a good case study? Obviously nothing confidential, but a good case study that you can say, well, here's kind of the before, and here's then what AI really helped us to improve on it, and then what that actually meant then for the client.
Yeah, so we did you could, if you think about it, when you roll out a predictive model like that, it really is a longitudinal study, right? Because you don't know how well it's going to work until you have some data and some time has passed. You need a good sample size of tests that you're running. You can only run so many tests a month, right? And so, but we have a streaming service that we do work with, where we used Impact Lens quite a bit, and then we were able to look at the predicted outcomes of those tests. So basically what Impact Lens said before we ran it, and then the actual results from those tests. So based on, did they win? What was the impact? We ran the models around the actual projected impact because of those test outcomes, and the parity was really, really close, which was really, really interesting. Now, obviously, there was some variance. You're not going to get perfect parity in these things. Like if we had a crystal ball, we'd be printing money, right? Like so. But the fact that we did see the trend lines moving in the same direction based on what was predicted and what was the reality over a 6-month period, that was really validating and really pretty cool to be able to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's fantastic. That's a great story, and that really, lends credence not only to what AI is doing, but what you guys are doing and how you're then taking that to drive more conversion, more revenue, more value for your clients. Well, that's fantastic. Um, I hate to say it, we've probably got to close here, but I do have one last question for you, and that is, what advice would you give an up and coming new marketer, giving that the world has changed so much in the last 12 to 24 months?
Yeah, yeah, great question. Well, I think if you're new to the space, and you're trying to maybe break into marketing, I would say that really, really lean into AI. I bring back that term of experimentation. Build things on your own time, experiment, post those things online, build in public. The more that you can sort of build a reputation that way, the better. And I think right now we're in a space where it's really, really hard for entry level people to get marketing jobs. And those who are going to stand out are the ones who are really, really leaning into AI and can also demonstrate that they're leaning into AI. And I'll give you a real quick example. We had an individual who was doing some cold outreach to us, college student, and built a bunch of stuff and shared the stuff he was building with us. And it was so cool that we said, you know what, why don't we hire you out for a few projects and kind of see how things go, right? And so we just really appreciated the entrepreneurial nature, the innovative spirit that that individual was bringing to their career. Don't wait for things to happen to you. You got to go out there and experiment with AI and demonstrate that you're willing to come in and be fluent in this stuff and demonstrate that you can bring value to the organization that you're trying to join.
That is so critical too. And if you've already kind of proven yourself with that company, then when you actually get the interview or get the opportunity, you're going to have a leg up on anything that's going on. And if you can then from day one show how much value you're going to be able to deliver, that makes that'll make such a difference. And in the world of AI and with the internet and everything that's out there, man, you can actually do so much. I mean, you could basically go out to if you get an interview with Prometrics tomorrow, you could say, well, listen, AI, give me everything I need to know and develop a marketing strategy or develop a this or develop a that. And you'll be pretty far along, and I think that is going to be the new way to do it. I really appreciate that. It was great advice for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think that the comfort sort of working in the gray spaces, right? Because we're in such a gray space right now where people who kind of lived in these very, very defined roles, that's going away. You have to be willing to kind of work in the gray and jump into different things. And so I find that a lot of the younger people that I'm working with that just want to get in there and figure it out, and are not so worried about, if they don't have the answers right away. Those are the ones that are being successful right now because there's just so much ambiguity in the way we work, but
Yeah.
also so much opportunity for AI to help you with that ambiguity.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And that ambiguity, actually, if you are able to thrive in that ambiguity and provide real value, then it is going to be very different than somebody sitting there, day in and day out, coding different transactions in an accounting system and, and
Yeah,
clearing the checks. I mean, the black and white versus the gray, that is where we need to go. So, yeah, thank you for that. Well,
100%.
Dave, fantastic. Thank you for today. This has been very interesting, and I really like a couple of the concepts that we are an experimentation company. I really like that. That's just fantastic. So, and I hate to say it, I'm going to borrow that from you. So,
Yeah, hey, we love experimentation, and the more we can create those cultures in the world, we're happy to do that. So you borrow away.
yeah, fantastic. So, where can folks learn more about you and your company, Chrometrics?
Yeah, so we're at chrometrics.com, and I believe my LinkedIn is /David Paul Albert. That's, I think, pretty much where the only sort of social media that I'm on, for professionally. So yeah, check us out there.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. So, Chrometrics is Chrometrics, metrics.com,
Correct.
crometrics.com. Yeah, fantastic. And again, thank you so much. And for the audience, then please stay tuned for many other videos in this series on the backstory of marketing and AI. And if you get a chance, my book is now available. You can find a link for it at marketingmachine.prorelevant.com, or you can go out to Amazon. It's available for your Kindle or in paperback. So thanks again, David. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Guy. It was a pleasure.